Choose the 15%. Okay, good. So you fixed it though? Okay, perfect. So this was our question mark, right? Right here. So you have to remember, I have to pay attention because across from the 90 degrees is the hypotenuse, and that has to go on the outside of the equal sign. So we would do question mark squared plus 3 squared equals 8, our hypotenuse squared. If you didn't set it up like that, your algebra is going to come out wrong. So then solve for question mark squared correctly. Question mark squared plus 9 equals 64, correct? So what would I do next? Okay, so we have question mark squared equals 64 minus 9, which is? Did we all get that? Am I done? No, got to square root both sides of the equation. Root cancels out with power. Because we want just question mark. Question marks equal to, and then we would break that down by hand if possible. So we have a 5 times 11, but neither of those break down, so we can't plot any groups of 2, so we put them back together, put them back up there. So square root of 55. Don't forget the square root, because if you write just 55, we'd be off. Everybody good? Awesome job. Okay, so this is what we learned last time. We learned, so everybody watch, if we have a right triangle and an angle theta, then from theta, we can identify the opposite side. You draw straight across, that's opposite. Hypotenuse is always across from the 90. So then this would be my adjacent side from theta. And if that's true, then we have the 3 trig ratios. Sine of theta, cosine theta, tangent theta. Let's all do our same. Oh, heck. Okay, of agony. Okay, good. So then sine is going to be your opposite over your hypotenuse, and you're done. Cosine is your adjacent over your hypotenuse, and you're done. Tangent is opposite over adjacent, and you're done. So here's why people start to get confused with this unit. They get confused with, what am I trying to find? So if I say to you, find cosine of theta, you get to stop once you've found it. Opposite or adjacent over hypotenuse. So that's what you need to pay attention to, because that's where it gets confusing for people. Okay, so given this right triangle, this is a review problem, we need to find first this. So I want you to raise your desk and answer those problems for me before we move on to today. Where it's just a wee teeny bit more to think about, but it's the same stuff today. So show me you learned what we got last time. So the first step we should do is find the missing side, which in this one is the hypotenuse. Yay, this one's the easier one. Did everybody get the square root of 61? Cool. So now we'll answer, what's cosine of theta, sine of theta, tangent theta? So notice it's not in order here. You got to pay attention because cosine is another hour. Adjacent over hypotenuse. So you got to go to theta, correct? Yeah. What's my adjacent side? No, opposite, right? Opposite is 6 in this one. Adjacent, hypotenuse. Okay, here we go. So our adjacent side is 5. Our hypotenuse is root 61. So you'd say 5 over root 61. And we're done. That's cosine. So we stop there. Find sine. Sine is oh heck. Oh heck. So you'd go to theta. Your opposite side 6. Your hypotenuse is root 61. You're done because it said find sine of theta. We did that. Now tangent of theta is opposite of agony. Of agony. So opposite over adjacent. So isn't that 6 over 5, everybody? Okay, do we all understand that very much so before we move on to today's lesson? Yes. Okay, so understand once again, if they ask you to find cosine of theta, you get a stop. Sine of theta, you get a stop. Tangent of theta, you get a stop. It's all in, what are they asking you to find? So go to your worksheet. All my examples are coming up your worksheet to give you less to do. Okay, pay attention because it starts to get, what gets confusing is you get confused with what you're trying to find, and so you find wrong things. So you got to pay attention and you won't do that. So it says in this one, find the measure. We don't have to even learn anything really new here. Find the measure of the angle indicated and round to the nearest tenth. So just look at the problem. This is very important to listen to. Does it say find sine of theta? Does it say find cosine? Does it say find tangent? No. Okay, so we're not going to be stopping there. We aren't finding sine, cosine, or tangent. It says find the measure of the angle. So that means find the measure of angle theta. So put a little star, because that's what you're trying to find. So that you're saying, I'm trying to find this actual angle. Please tell me we all have some calculators, like graphing calculators, because I don't even know if your regular calculator will do it. What? But you use the same stuff. You're gonna see what we do here. It's not bad once you know what you're doing. We all have to have a calculator. So if you don't have a graphing calculator, make sure that you are watching somebody that does, because you're gonna need to know how to do this. Okay. So now from here, what you're gonna do is say, okay, I can't find an angle without setting up a right triangle trig ratio. So from here, from angle theta, which two sides are we given? So we're definitely given the hypotenuse, not the opposite. Look, you see how we are not given the opposite. Everybody? But what's this side have to be? Adjacent. Okay, so you'd say to yourself, okay, I was given an adjacent side and a hypotenuse from theta. So which trig ratio, crap, I gotta hurry and plug in my computer. Which trig ratio uses an adjacent and hypotenuse in its thing? Does everybody understand how cosine is the only one that uses the adjacent and hypotenuse in its thing? So you say, okay, I've got to use cosine. Okay, so what you're going to do is write down a true statement. So you say, okay, the true statement here is this. Everybody paying attention, writing this down in your notes. Your true statement is cosine of theta for right triangle trig is adjacent over hypotenuse. Isn't that a true statement? Yeah. Okay, let's put in what we know. We know that cosine of theta is our adjacent side, which is 12, over our hypotenuse, so we're putting in everything we know, is over our hypotenuse is 13. Does everybody see? Now on this one, you can't stop because what did we star? Theta. Do you see how really we have this? Cosine of theta in parentheses here. So you say, I can't stop at cosine of theta because I'm asked to find star. So put a star in there so you remind. You say, I have to solve for that angle theta, not cosine, but I got to actually solve for theta. So our last step is to get theta all by itself. So what we do here is we've got to undo cosine. Now cosine's not like multiplication. This is cosine entrapping theta. The only way to undo theta is to apply the inverse. So what you're going to do, everybody, is you're going to go like this. Cosine inverse, so that little -1 means inverse. And you have to do that to both sides of the equation because you have to do it equally. So you're going to write cosine inverse of both sides. Now inverses undo originals. So everybody, cosine inverse undoes cosine. That's what inverses do. You see how they cross out? So then theta now is all by itself. So we have theta. Now over here we have the cosine inverse of that. Now understand when you take the cosine inverse, it entraps. So we have the cosine inverse of 12 over 13. It like eats it. And now all you have to do is type it into your calculator. So everybody pull up your graphing calculator. And the first thing I want you to do is think about it. We're finding a degree, an angle. So it might be 62 degrees. It might be 53 degrees. We're going to answer it in degrees. So everybody follow me through this or take a mental note. But you need a calculator to do this. So you're going to go like this. Everybody follow me through this. This is what's important. Everybody go to mode right here. So look at my mode button. Hit mode. Now I need to scroll down and put my calculator to see where it says radian or degrees. I'm trying to find a degree measure, so I need to put it in degree mode. I need to hit enter. And now I'm set to go. So to get out of here, you'll hit second quit. Right here's the quit button right here by mode. So hit second quit. Is everybody with me? Okay, second quit. We're good to go. Now look, you see how you have sine, cosine, tangent? We're not typing in cosine. We're typing in cosine inverse. So look, if you look above it, do you see how it says cosine -1? That's what we want. So hit the second key, second cosine, and notice it puts in the right thing, cosine inverse. And then what was it? It was, okay, so 12 divided by 13. So it wasn't hard by any means. Type 22.6 degrees. That angle is 22.6 degrees. So it wasn't super hard or anything. It's just knowing what you're finding. That's our answer. We found theta. That's it. 22.6 degrees. So that little angle right there was actually 22.6 degrees. Super easy. But what's hard is people start getting confused. And if I said to find sine of theta, they go too far. They find theta. But if I ask you to find sine, we stop at sine. Where this one said find theta. Remember, so I have a star here because I got to keep going. Does that help? Okay. So here we go. Let's do number 2. It says find the measure of the angle indicated. So once again, notice there's not a sine there. There's not cosine. There's not tangent. So that's not what you're trying to find. You're going to say, I'm trying to find the angle, so I'm going to put a star by it to remind myself I'm actually got to go all the way on this one and find angle theta. So now let's set up let's figure out what two sides from angle theta we're given in this one. Good, very good. Adjacent and opposite. So you say to yourself, which trig ratio out of sine, cosine, tangent can I use here? Wait, say the saying in your head. Sine, cosine, tangent, oh heck, another hour of agony. Okay, so you say, okay, my true statement's this. Tangent of theta is of agony. So now I can set up a true statement. Tangent of theta is my opposite side, which is 4, over my adjacent side, which is 13. Does everybody follow? Now, make sure you say to yourself, I'm trying to find, I can't stop because I'm trying to find that angle theta. I put a star by it. I got to undo tangent because I need theta by itself because I'm trying to solve for theta. So how do we undo tangent? Any guesses? Good. Tangent inverse. You're right. So the -1 tangent, which is actually called the tangent inverse. But if I do it to this side, I got to do it to this side. You have to do it evenly. Inverses undo each other. So luckily, this inverse undoes the original tangent. And now theta is dropped by itself. And now over here, that's the tangent inverse, and it eats that. So you say tangent inverse of 4 over 13. And now you'll once again just type it into your calculator. Second tangent . 17.3? Oh, 17.1. 17.1 degrees in measure. 17.1 degrees. Okay, awesome. Okay, so what I want you to do, we don't need to do any more examples. You got it? Okay, so it's in this one, I'm just going to make a point here. Find the angle. So I put a star here. Opposite hypotenuse when I say sine. Because that's sine, right? Oh heck. So I say sine of theta equals 3/5, correct? Opposite over hypotenuse. Isn't that my true statement? We'd say, okay, I can't stop because I'm trying to find star. Undo this, so it'd be sine inverse of 3/5. That easy. Do 1 through 8, check them off with me. It's not that it's hard, it's just, it gets confusing on what do I need to do here? So if I say to you, find sine of theta, you just stop. You don't find theta, you stop. You put it in opposite and hypotenuse and done. Everybody understand? If I say find theta, you gotta set up a true statement and go all the way. Okay, now go to number 9. It says find the measure of each side indicated round to the nearest tenth. So once again, I'm gonna ask you, looking at this, do you see find sine, cosine, tangent? No, so you would not stop there. We got to go all the way. So now in this one, it says find the measure of each side indicated. Notice in this one, we're not finding an angle. Do you see how we're given an angle? We're actually trying to find this side. Now notice, we're trying to find a missing side, but we can't use the Pythagorean theorem because we don't know what this side is. Does everybody see? So you say to yourself, I've got to come up with a true statement here. Serve everybody. We're never going to use 90 degrees. We're always going to use the angle that's given besides 90 degrees. So I'm going to call this theta. So I'm going to put a circle around it, and I'm trying to solve for x. So I'm going to put a circle around that and say that's my theta. So from theta, what two sides am I given? What's this side? Adjacent, and what's this side? Which trig ratio uses adjacent and hypotenuse? Cosine, right? Oh, heck is sine, right? So we'd say to ourselves, what's my true statement? Cosine of theta equals adjacent and hypotenuse. Adjacent, another hour. And now what we're going to do, because this is really cosine of theta, but now once again, we're going to have to put in everything we know, like we did before. So let's put in everything we know. We have cosine, don't put theta. Don't we know what theta is in this one? Theta is 37. So write cosine of 37 degrees equals our adjacent side, which is 11, right? Does everybody see? Yep. Over hypotenuse, which is x. Now look at your true statement. We only have one thing to find, and that's x. So it's use algebra to solve for x. The first thing I always do is get rid of fractions. To get rid of fractions, we always we always undo what undoes division, multiplication. So how can we get rid of x on this side? What? Opposite of division, multiplication, because they undo each other. So does everybody understand? To solve for x is what my goal now. Solving for x. So you got to use algebra. So say I got to get rid of my fraction. I'm going to have to multiply by what's on bottom. It's not always going to be x, but I'm always going to multiply by what's on bottom. Everybody understand? So I multiply both sides, because you can't just do it to one side, both sides by x. Everybody do that. On your paper, this is on your paper. So we multiply both sides by x. So now look what happens over here. We have x times cosine of 37. And on this side, look, my x's divide out, so we have equals 11. So everybody see how the algebra worked out on this one? Yeah. We're not done. See, my goal is to get x alone. I have one more step to get x alone. We've got to get x alone. What undoes multiplication? Division. So we're going to divide both sides by cosine of 37. Divide by cosine of 37. Now, look what happens. Those divide out, so we have x on this side equals, and on this side we have 11 over cosine of 37. Now I need to be very clear. We did not take an inverse because we did not need to find an angle. Does everybody see how it's just simply cosine? We didn't undo cosine and have a floating 37 degrees. Does everybody see what I'm saying? Because in the other one, we were solving for theta, so we had to undo cosine. Literally, all you have to do now is type that into your calculator. So type in 11 divided by cosine of 37. Now don't mistake that with cosine inverse. It's simply cosine in this one. So 11, yep, divided by cosine of 37. Oh, good catch. Delete and hit enter. And 13.7 is my side x. So x equals 13.7. See, look, x equals, and that became 13.7. And we're done because we solved for x. Not too bad. That's as hard as it gets. Okay, let's do another one. Not too bad though, right? Okay, let's do another one. Number 10. I'm doing them off your paper, paying attention. So you say to yourself, it says find the measure of each side indicated. So in this one, once again, we're trying to solve for x, not the angle. So you'd say, okay, so, well, I'm given you don't ever use 90. You can't use 90, but any other degree given, we're going to call that theta. So circle this. That's my theta. Across off, very good, Paul. So our opposite side's given and our adjacent side's given. So we're going to be using tangent. So set up your true statement. Tangent of theta is opposite of agony, opposite over adjacent. Now what you're going to do is in that true statement, put in everything you know. So we have tangent of 32, because theta is 32, so put it in. Tangent of 32 degrees equals our opposite side, which is, look, x, over our adjacent side, which is 13, right? So then you would say to yourself, okay, I never want to do fractions. Yeah, we're going to actually multiply 13 to both sides, right? Because what undoes division? Multiplication. So now we're going to undo that. So we're going to multiply both sides by 13. And now show your work. So over here we have, rewrite it, 13 tangent of 32. And then equals, now look what happens over here. 13 and 13 divide out, so what do we have? X. Now look, we don't have to do any more work on this one. Do you see how x is solved for? X. Yeah, x is alone, so you're done. You can just throw your hands up and say, yes. So then you'll type into your calculator, 13 tangent of 32. So this one's algebra came out a little easier. 13, 8.1. Very good. So x is equal to 8.1. Okay. We're going to do another one just to make sure we're good, and then I'm going to set you free. I'll tell you, either some I'm going to have you cross out. Okay, so let's do number 11. Here we go. So number 11, it says find the missing side. So in this one, once again, we're not solving for the angle, we're solving for x. So we're going to circle our theta, opposite and adjacent. Okay, tangent of theta equals opposite over adjacent. Now let's plug in everything we know. Tangent of theta, angle theta is 50.1 degrees, which is equal to our opposite side, and this one is x, and our adjacent one is 5. Now you say to yourself, my goal is to get rid of fractions. That's my first step always. Good. So we're going to multiply both sides by 5. Rewrite it. 5 tangent of 50.1 degrees equals, the 5's divide out, equals x. And you'd say, my goal is to solve for x. So is x alone? If so, you're done. If not, do one more step. But this one is alone. And now you'll type it in. What do we get? 6.9? 5.97, very good. So because it asks us to round to 1 decimal place and 9 rounds up, this one happens to round to 6. So normally we would stop at this decimal, but since 7 rounds that up to 9 up, it becomes 10. Good question. Yeah, so do you want one more where,
yeah.
No wait, this one, okay, this one's not that one where the algebra comes out. No, this one's fine. I'm saying this one's an easy one. I was hoping, you know how you were just about to ask me about the algebra, the other one.
Yeah.
So I want it to be a harder one. Okay, so do I need to do one with the algebra like the other one one more time? Okay, let me look and see if I can find one. Actually, I think we're probably good. Okay, awesome. So what I want you to do is 13 through 16. You probably should do like 2 of them and then check them off before you move on in case you're doing them all wrong. And then cross out 17 through 24. That's too much. Yep.
I would not say I would roll.
Okay, awesome. 17 through 24. He does. Yeah, you do. You're so nice. It's okay. Now you can.